Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new episode of Games and Names. Our sport for this episode is kickboxing, and our featured star guest is Captain Rasha Haddad, and she is the national female team coach for kickboxing here in Egypt. So let's get to know more about kickboxing in the country and about Captain Rasha Haddad in the upcoming minutes of Games and Names. Kickboxing is a descriptive term for martial arts that, while similar to boxing, use the feet just like the hands to hit. Kickboxing can be practiced for general health or as the fight sport. The World Kickboxing represents a set of disciplines or sports of combat that use the feet and the fists. Especially kickboxing is one of the disciplines of boxe pied-point, which was developed at first by Japanese and afterwards by North Americans. There are different kinds of kickboxing. Most popular is one where kicks are allowed towards head and torso only. In the middle of the years the 1960s, the Japanese Kurosaki, who trained in Kyokushinkai karate, traveled to Thailand discovering Thai boxing. In his returning to Japan, he decided to combine his techniques of karate with that of Thai boxing, removing elbow strikes. The Americans also removed knee strikes later, so a new sport called kickboxing was born. Among the non-Japanese that gained more successes, a special consideration should be given to Frenchman Christian Guillaume, who in '69 gained 4 victories and 2 draws, and American Benny the Jet Urquidez, who in '77 defeated Tatsuyuki Suzuki in 4 rounds. In '73, Urquidez and Howard Hansen created the WKA, or the World Karate Association, changing gears after the KD Karate for that of kickboxing. The more known champions are Rob Kamen, Benny Urquidez, Dennis Alexio, Ernesto Hughes, and Marek Pitaworski. Punches and kicks are permitted for above the waist. Sweepings and the low kicks are also permitted. The amateur combats take place in 3 rounds, and the professional ones last up to 5 rounds, and 10 in championships of Europe and 12 in world championships, with a 1-minute halftime break between rounds. The kicks to the thigh or low kick usually decide about the difference in the combat. Pants, long or short, boxing gloves and protectors for the teeth and the genitals. In the female combats, women should also wear protector or chests and boots.
اسمي كابتن رشا حداد مدربة منتخب مصر للكيك بوكسينج.
My name is Rasha Haddad. I'm the coach of Egypt's female kickboxing team. I'm also the technical director of the Raya military club, and I'm a board member of a youth center that practices the sport of kickboxing. And kickboxing, I believe, is a very popular sport now in Egypt. I actually started my sports march when I was only 6 years of age as a gymnast. Right after that, I started practicing Kung Fu, and I was able to be crowned a national champion with the Interior Ministry Club. Then I started practicing kickboxing some 20 years ago, and that coincided with the appearance of the sport here in Egypt. Now, I believe that kickboxing is a sport that needs a lot of tactics. It needs a high IQ level, and it needs mental toughness. I believe mental toughness is very key in our sport more than any other. I want to praise the association overseeing the sport here in Egypt for the great work it has done in spreading the sport in Egypt and getting it to be one of the most popular sports in the country. In the sport of kickboxing, as a player, I was national champion 3 times. Last time I won the national championship, I was 27 years of age, and I had already 2 daughters with me. And the last tournament I played in as a player was last year in the Masters Championship, where I also came in first in the kickboxing Masters competition. And that enabled me, amongst other things, to qualify to coach Egypt's national female kickboxing team, whilst I had also achieved with the youth center I oversee some 26 medals in the national championship. While participating with only 28 players, I was able to get 26 medals coaching these talented players.
هنيجي بس الأول لمفهوم الكيك بوكسينج، هي ملاكمة الأرجل أو ملاكمة وركل.
The right, correct use of hand strikes and leg strikes in our sport is key. I consider that kickboxing is close to Taekwondo, but of course there are many differences. And again, the key is the hand punches and the leg kicks. We have 7 styles in kickboxing. One of them is the point fight, which is close to karate. We also have the K1, which is close to the Muay Thai. We have musical forms. Of course, there is a music accompanying the moves. And we have the low kick, which I believe is the most violent and toughest of all styles, where full power and strength is needed, and this is why we only allow athletes above 14 years of age to play this style, the low kick style. And we also have the full contact, which is also a very strong competitive type of fight that depends on power, leg power mainly, along with tactics, of course. We do have very important rules in our sport that athletes have to respect, or risk being red carded and losing any match they are in, even if they are ahead. Of course, you are not allowed to hit the opponents in the neck area or in the back of the head or under the belt. And if you do that on purpose, you risk getting red carded. Also, if you disrespect your opponent, by saying foul language or discriminatory words, or if you disrespect the referee, the judge or the umpire has to have his or her full respect, and all of these things could lead to a player receiving a red card. So our sport is not only a sport for sport, but sport for morale and ethics.
like that. Drop it like that.
مواصفات اللاعب المميز في الكيك بوكسينج إنه لاعب يكون قوي.
A successful kickboxer should possess speed, power, fast reflexes, agility, physical fitness, tactical soundness, endurance, patience, dedication, and mental toughness, most of all. During the off season, we get players ready physically through the physical preparation programs. We focus on physical fitness and then on skills development. And we usually exercise 3 days per week. And the session is usually 60 minutes to 90 minutes long. Deep into the season and closer to the official competitions, we might get the athletes to exercise every day and sometimes 2 or even 3 times per day. And then, of course, we start to diminish the dose of exercises right before the tournament so as to get our athletes fresh and ready for the official competitions.
طبعا احنا عندنا شويه رولز كده في الاتحاد. الاول احنا ما عندناش بطوله جمهوريه واحده.
The Kickboxing Association here in Egypt oversees the organization of three key competitions throughout the year. We have the zone championships, the provincial championships, and of course the club's national championship. And we select national team players from the three competitions and not just from the club national tournament, because we want to get as many talented players as we can and in the national team camp, and then we start to select between these champions and we make them square off and qualify, try to defeat each other in qualifiers inside the national team camp. And because we also sometimes have some technical point of view that could make us select a player, for instance, who finishes second or third in the championship, but who is very, very talented. And so we do not restrict the chances for national team participation for those with the gold medals, but also for other players if we believe that they have the talent to continue, because they could be later on even better than those who had already achieved gold. Now, for my personal experience, I was criticized a lot when I started practicing kickboxing, and people started telling me that this is not a sport for girls. But thanks to my father, who stood behind me, he is a sports person and sportsman, and believes in the fact that girls should be practicing sports, and that it's good for her personality and for her development and for her health naturally. So he supported me, and here I am now. And what I learned from my father, I started to practice here and encourage girls to continue to practice the sport and scout for more and more girls to play the sport. Of course, boys or males practice the sport in Egypt more than girls or females, but we've gone a long way. We now have championships for girls that could include 2,000 and 3,000 players at the same time. Of course, the boys might have championships with 10,000 players, but again, we've gone a long way, and the sport is expanding exponentially here in Egypt, and especially for girls. And we do have 35 girls in our national team at the moment. Our main competitors in the Arab region are Jordan and Morocco, and those formed official associations for the sports long before us. I mean, we did practice kickboxing in Egypt some 20 years ago, but we only formed the association 4 years ago. But we have achieved a lot before and since then. Globally, Thailand and Russia are the strongest countries in the sport of kickboxing, and Thailand is the origin of the sport. Here in Egypt, the military institution clubs are the strongest. We also have Boulay Dakrur. Many youth centers, including the one I oversee, have talented players. We also have clubs like Raya, Said, and the 23rd of July. Who have talented players, male and female, in the sport of kickboxing. I really wish to see a bigger sponsorship from the association to the players in our sport here in Egypt, and also more endorsement from the youth ministry, from the sports and youth ministry, and perhaps from businessmen as well. I mean, I was in Saudi Arabia and I saw something called the Saudi Games for individual sports, and the winners of gold medals got a prize of 1 million Saudi riyals. So I wish to see something like this here in Egypt for individual sports, because I believe that the attention is totally given to team sports here in Egypt at the expense of individual sports, and many times the athletes spend from their own pockets and from their families' pockets. As for my personal wishes, I wish for my sport, kickboxing, to be more popular, to be the most popular sport in Egypt, and I wish for a bigger base and a wider base for males and females here in Egypt in kickboxing.